All right, everybody, you are here to watch my opinion. That's what a tier list is. So I'm a little miffed because I tried to record this already before. I recorded the entire thing, but I had some mic issues. And that also went over to my stream that I did yesterday at the time of this recording. And a botched recording for 5 hours where I just never realized that I had audio issues. That one was an episode of the Constant World Seed playthrough, which is now ruined and I can't use, at least for the most part. There might be a couple of clips because I'm going to do a short recap of things that happened in the next episode that I'm working on recording right now, but like 3 things just got messed up by the fact that my mic settings were fucky and they're literally just unusable. I had to delete the stream VOD because it was terrible. It was like a 3-hour stream too. I didn't even realize what the hell was happening. But anyways, enough about my moaning and groaning. We have a tier list to do, and we're gonna be doing a tier list on all of the Don't Starve items, the Don't Starve Together items that were added, all of the notable ones at any rate. I did not include the paintings because who cares about the paintings? I have vanity items, pets, weapons. Is there another category of item I'm missing here? Accessories. And yeah, let's just get right into it. We're gonna start off with vanity. C tier for vanity because I don't actually care about the vanity that much, but I felt like I should probably put them here. They're gonna go in C tier because I don't know, dude. There's a Willow and Wilson vanity set. One of them is, I believe those are the protagonist characters, like the characters you can play as in Don't Starve. Don't quote me on that. I don't actually know the game at all. They're simple vanity sets, and I don't know. I don't really care. We also have a flower garland, which you put on your head, I think. And now that those are out of the way, actually, I have one more vanity item. We have the Eyebrow. That was a real quick 180. This is gonna go in the B tier, not with the other ones, because it actually does something. It creates rain above your head with like a rain cloud, and it rains on you. And I mean, it's different. It does something. Nothing like actually significant, but it does do something. Let's do the food items next, just to get those out of the way too. Those are also going in B tier. The Froggle Bun Witch and the Monster Lasagna, which are both decent food items. They last for a decent amount of time. They give you the medium food buff, and you make the Froggle Bun Witch with frogs, and then the Monster Lasagna with either rotten chunks or vertebrae, which is nice. I think that these food items are cool. They give you an alternate use for items that are generally not all that useful. Frogs can be used as bait, but they're really bad bait. And then vertebra and rotten chunks after, you're done with the boss. The wall of the wall of Eater, the wall of brain, the Eater worlds and the brain of Cthulhu. Once you're done with them and fighting them, like overall, there's no use for vertebrae and rotten chunks, and they just sit around and don't do anything. So it's nice to have another use for them. You can make them into food. Abigail's flower. So Abigail's flower, obviously, I think basically everyone has seen this. It's a flower that shows up or can show up near gravestones and summons a little ghost to fight for you named Abigail. And I think it's a decent item. I'm putting it in A tier because I think it has a lot more personality than a lot of the other items, and personality is kind of a term you're going to hear me use a couple times in this list, which is just a measure of how an item feels in a certain way. It's kind of hard to describe, but I think that you kind of get it when you use the items, look at the items, see the items, what they do, that I'll say like have this sort of personality. And I think Abigail's flower is one of them. You have this cute little ghost that follows you around and, beats up enemies for you. And I think it's an A tier item, not just because I like the item and I think it's a really cool idea, but also because, it's fairly practical. It's not hard to get. It's nice to have. And if you don't get a fletchling, the bird summon, then that's the only summon that you're going to have for a while if you're, doing a summoner playthrough or something. So I think it's a really cool addition to the game. The Bat. We're putting that in D tier. Yeah, the Bat, it sucks. It has a slow use time. It has fairly high damage, and you can get it just from killing any bat. If you get it from your first bat that you kill in your world, then you might use it for a little bit, but it's bad. It's unwieldy. The health regen doesn't really do anything. It just feels super clunky and awkward to use, and I just don't like the item at all. So, D tier. Bernie's Button. I guess I'll put Bernie's Button in B tier. I could put it in C tier, I guess. It's not really anything special, but I mean, then again, I mean, B tier is the middle of the road tier. So it summons a teddy bear. The teddy bear will actually disappear when you fly and then reappear when you land on the ground again, which is something that I've never seen before from pets in Terraria as a way to, you know, keep up with you or stay with you. Most of them have flying animations in one way or another. This one doesn't. That's the only notable thing about it, really. The bone helm. Really cool. We're gonna put that in A tier. I think just for like coolness factor alone, I think it's really unique. It's similar to the spore sack in a way. How the spore sack, it will, you know, put these spores around you that will harm enemies. And it's just an ambient damaging sort of ability. And that's what the bone helm does. It'll summon these claws, which the Deerclops uses to fight you. And these claws will just, you know, appear near enemies and then move towards them and try to damage them. And I think it's a cool item. I don't think it's all that useful in comparison to a lot of other accessories that you can get, but I do think it's cool. I think it's nifty. I think it's a great idea. It's just like something that's just really unique as far as most items in the game are. And I think it's just great. I mean, A tier, low A tier, I think is perfect for it. Deerclops eyeball. It's their pet. We're gonna put this in B tier too. I mean, it's a baby Deerclops or a small Deerclops that you summon, and it just follows you around. It's kind of weird that you do it with the Deerclops' eyeball. We popped out its eyeball, and now we can summon it at our beck and call. I mean, sure. The eye bone. The eye bone's going to be our first S tier item, and I mean, come on. You cannot not... Well, I mean, I guess you could not, but you can't not love the eye bone. I don't think I said that right. You gotta love Chester, right? I mean, it's a piggy bank pet, so it has very useful applications, especially if you don't have a money trough. And then also, it's one of the other items that really has personality. And as far as pets go, most pets don't really have that. And that's the only thing that you could really get that from in Terraria for the most part, in my opinion. The way that Chester moves around and how it, like... I mean, it's a dog, right? It's meant to be like a dog. In-game, it is just as infuriating, cute, and obnoxious to deal with as a small, super energetic dog might be. It jumps around, it's difficult to interact with, but it so embodies what I feel like they were trying to do with a piggy bank pet dog. Chester is great. The eye bone is incredible. I love what they did with it. I think it's fantastic. Glommer's flower. We're gonna put it in C tier because it's weird. The Glommer is really weird. That's the only thing I can really say about it. It's like a giant bug with multiple eyes. Obviously, it would only have one eye. Whatever, shut up. The ham bat. We're gonna put this in A tier, I think, because, I mean, I love what it is. It's like you kill pigrons and you have a chance to like literally get just its leg and you just swing it at people and smack them with it and you kill them. And what the hell? That's amazing. Aside from just like being funny, having a great quote, and being awesome to use, it is also just a decent weapon. If you have the Plenty Satisfied buff, it gets more damage. Well, if you have any of the food buffs, it gets more damage, but you should have the major food buff to get the most damage, and it will actually do decent work. It's an auto-swinging, fast-swinging, basic melee weapon. So, you know, it's not useful for everything, but it can be okay. And then it gives you a pretty good health regeneration buff when you kill enemies. So it does have something going for it other than just being basically a sword. A big, meaty sword. We have Houndius Shootius, also going in C tier. It is one of the Deerclops weapons. I feel like it's just nothing special. You summon this arcane apparatus, and I mean, that it is. It shoots a pretty slow projectile. It's a sentry summon, which you don't really have at this point at all in any other form. It's a mediocre weapon. It's not that great. But, it's weird, and it's unique in some ways. I mean, being, you know, the only sentry in pre-hard mode and such. Unless I'm wrong about that. It's definitely below average for weapons in general. You don't really want to be using this as any sort of main weapon. It's just kind of a helper, in fights, if you really just want to have that. Lucy the Axe is going into the S tier. I mean, come on, it's like Chester, it's like Abigail. It has this personality about it, right? I mean, Lucy the Axe literally talks to you, which is something that no other item in the game does. It's funny, it's fun, it's interesting, it can be kind of annoying, kind of like Chester, how he bounces around and is super hard to interact with. I mean, you just have Lucy, you know, with the little noise that she makes whenever she talks. Every time you chop a tree, that pops up and, you know, she just keeps talking. But it really does feel like, you know, you have some sort of companion in the game, which is rare, especially from a tool. Not to mention that you get it in the middle of pre-hard mode, and it has the highest axe power in the game, the highest rating, aside from the axe, and tied with, I believe, like 5 other axes, like the Spectre ham axe, and then the 4 ham axes from the lunar events. It's just a fantastic item in all ways, unless you just really don't like it how she talks to you. Next up, we're putting Luminescence in the S tier. And I mean, it's an incredible item, right? I mean, this one doesn't have any of the personality that I was mentioning with the Eyebone and Lucy the Axe, but I mean, you get it so early, and the buffs that it gives you are just so useful. Like, overall, universally, it gives you extra movement speed, it helps you change directions easier, like it increases, I don't know how it's worded, but it helps you accelerate and decelerate or whatever. It gives you smoother mobility, and it gives you light. It gives you a decent amount of light at that, and you can't really get that outside of shine potions in early pre-hard mode. But it's super useful. Even the movement speed itself and the acceleration and deceleration is very helpful, even in early hard mode and late pre-hard mode, which is, you know, way after you get this item, because you can get it right after the Eater of Worlds and the Brain of Cthulhu. It's very noticeable. It's helpful in, like, basically all stages of the game. You probably wouldn't use it super late game, but you could if you wanted to. And I think it would still serve a good purpose with a strong movement speed buff, and just fluid mobility is basically kind of what it provides for you, in my opinion. And then the little bit of utility with the light. Monster Meat. I don't know. I guess I'm going to put it at high B tier. And I'm saying that specifically to separate it from the other items, because I kind of consider putting it in A tier for the sole reason that it has the only tooltip that has really stuck with me. Basically, all of the Don't Starve items have some kind of funny tooltip. A lot of Terraria items in general do as well. Or not funny, but, you know, witty or interesting in some way. The Monster Meat has the tooltip. Also, it's a pet. It summons the Pigman. I don't think I actually said that. The tooltip is gross. It's full of hairs. And for some reason, that one tooltip has just stuck with me. I can't really pull it out of my mind, like the quotes and tooltips from all the other Don't Starve items, and then just Monster Meat. I think of the Monster Meat and I'm like, gross, it's full of hairs. And yeah, so that's why it's there, because it's full of hairs. The Pneumatic Horn is another drop from the Deerclops. That's going in B tier as well. It's a solid weapon. It's kind of weird because the damage of the projectiles it shoots are variable. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's just random which projectile comes out of this fucking thing. And depending on what the projectile is, it'll do more damage or, like, no damage. It's not that bad of a weapon. It can deal some high damage, but it's also just nothing special, you know? It has a just decent fire rate, and sometimes you can get points where you're not doing much damage because you get some of the bad items that it can shoot. I guess they're not items. I mean, they are items, but, like, you can't pick them up and they don't drop on the ground, and whatever. This is a stupid discussion. The radio thing, we're gonna put that in C tier because, I mean, it doesn't really do anything. I can't put it in D tier because there's not really anything bad about it. Basically what it does is that it will change the color palette of the world. If you're on a normal Terraria world to the Don't Starve Together palette that you get if you play on the constant world seed. And if you're on the constant world seed, it'll change it from that darker palette to the normal Terraria palette, which is, I mean, it's interesting, you know, if you just want a change of scenery, you can use this, but other than that, it doesn't really do anything, so C tier. The Tentacle Spike. You know, honestly, just from using this and from how it's felt, I'm gonna put it in the A tier, like low A tier. It could also go in the B tier, but I'm gonna put it here because I don't think it's very bad at all. That's not really, you know, that's super vague. Basically, you can get this from any of the corruption or crimson mobs, I believe. And I mean, if you can get this from one of them early on, in my opinion, it's probably like the best easy to get melee weapon outside of Star Fury. You get this and, you know, it's not auto swing, but it has a decent swing speed. It does solid damage, and it has a little special effect where it'll leave a spike in the enemy and deal damage over time to them, which I think is cool. And I mean, I used it a bunch when I first got it. I thought it was just a half decent item, you know? I used it. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a fine area for it to be. And last but not least, we have the weather pane. This is going in B tier with the Pumatic Horn as one of the mediocre Deerclops weapon drops. It's not bad at all. I think it's solid, like the Pumatic Horn. Not inconsistent like it, but basically you use this and it shoots a tornado out. The tornado will home in on enemies and damage them. And it's pretty good, you know? I mean, you use it and it will just follow enemies for a little bit and deal damage to them. Solid damage. It's AoE damage if it hits multiple of them. You can summon the tornado and then switch to other weapons to fight alongside it, because the tornado will just stay for a specific amount of time before disappearing. So, I mean, there you go, you know? It's just like, it's not that strong. I mean, you like the boss right after it, Skeletron, you can get a way stronger magic weapon in the Book of Skulls. But I mean, the weather pane is nice. I don't think you'll use it for very long because it falls off pretty quickly. There you go, B tier. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed watching this. I'll try to make it as funny as I can, because I mean, who the hell wants to watch a standard boring tier list? Probably some people, but I'm not one of them. Tell me what you think about my ratings of the different items in the comments down below. And if you disagree, you know, let me know. Shout at me or whatever. Hate on me. Do whatever you want. That's gonna be all for this video though, and I'll see you guys in the next one.